No gloves, no weight classes, barely any rules. The UFC was less like a professional sport and more like a live-action video game. Let's talk about the absolute madness of the first UFC events.
Be forewarned, there are no rules, no judges' scores, and no time limits.
The first UFC events were marketed as no holds barred, and they meant it. Hair pulling, legal.
He's grabbing the hair, that is perfectly legal.
Headbutts, legal.
From sliding once you create distance.
Kicks to the groin, absolutely legal. If you could think of it, you could probably do it. One fighter, Joe Sun, found this out the hard way when Keith Hackney treated his groin like a speed bag. The ref just stood there like, yeah, that's fine. Imagine explaining that to someone today. Yeah man, I really wanted him to win, but he got TKO'd by nut shots. Today we have weight divisions. Back then, UFC basically said, let's see what happens. You'd have 170-pound Royce Gracie choking out guys twice his size, or a 600-pound sumo wrestler, Emmanuel Yarborough, getting swarmed by someone less than half his weight. It wasn't about fair fights, it was about selling freak shows. Where did they even find some of these guys? I'm not sure I've ever seen somebody over 600 pounds walking around in my life. The roster looked less like professional athletes and more like random dudes you'd see at the mall mixed in with guys from a circus. The first UFC fight ever, Gerard Gordeau, a Dutch kickboxer, versus Tyla Tooley, a 400-pound sumo wrestler. The fight ended in 26 seconds, with Tooley's tooth flying into the crowd. Then you had Tank Abbott, who was literally billed as pit fighter. What does that even mean? He likes pit bulls? He's good in a mosh pit? Pit fighter. And of course, there were karate instructors, boxers, random bar brawlers, people who had no idea what a chokehold even was. Half the time, guys didn't even know how to tap out.
Being a fighter, I punch hard, I'm fast, and I'm quick.
My style is Ed Parker's American Kempo Karate.
Anybody hoping to win tonight has to come through me.
And don't get me started on the commentators, who didn't even know what was going on.
And now Jason is in Hoist's guard, it's called.
What does that mean?
What
does that mean?
On top of all that, fights weren't spread across weeks or months. Nope, it was a one-night tournament. If you wanted to be champion, you had to win 3 or 4 fights in the same evening. Imagine breaking your hand in the first fight, getting stitched up in the locker room, and then being told, you're up again in 45 minutes. It was less about who was the best fighter and more about who still had a functioning spine by the finals. The UFC itself didn't even know what it was. The commentary sounded like a mix between pro wrestling and a backyard barbecue. There were no time limits, no judges, and no decisions. So if 2 exhausted guys just laid on each other for half an hour, tough luck, the fight kept going. In the marketing, pure 90s cheese. They hyped it up like a blood sport. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. It was less ESPN and more Mortal Kombat. The early UFC was part martial arts experiment, part human cockfight. It was brutal, sloppy, ridiculous, but somehow the foundation of modern MMA. Without this chaos, we won't have the UFC we know today. So in a weird way, thank you to Joe Sun's balls. You didn't suffer in vain.
Nobody's moving, he's tapping, he's tapping.